Yeah.
Finance.
Finance.
Okay.
There she is.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead, 8:03, call our meeting to order. For the planning board, just a special extra meeting to work on the master plan. On the docket for today is chapter 5, which is natural, scenic, and historic resources. I know, Tara, you need to leave, you say by 8:30, so if you want to get us rolling, and we can certainly make sure you get all anything, any other work that we do after you leave.
Sure. So Alicia's gonna share the recording with me so that,
I'm sorry, we didn't do roll call. I was
Yes.
rushing to get going here. Alrighty, roll call.
Mike Coppell, member.
Nancy Knight member.
Wendy Rathgaber, member.
John Racine, member.
Bill Spence, member.
Bill Larson, member.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everybody. Sorry about that. Sorry, Tara.
so I'd, anticipate you'd go through it the same way you did land use with, send me anything that's a typo, right? But I want you to make sure and talk about substantive issues. So if you get through the narrative for chapter 5, the corresponding recommendations are lines 18 to 38 in the action plan file. Because I have to leave at 8:30, I wanted to share with you, unfortunately, a comment that goes at the very end of chapter 5.
Okay.
Because Rich shared the draft plan with the Historical Society, and I did receive, I received a couple editorial things that I'll do in the next draft. I'm trying to wait and revise each chapter when I have all the comments on it. And
Sure.
and when you've gone through the recommendations for it. So I haven't done the land use chapter yet, because if when you talk about the recommendations, you make changes on it, the narrative, the purpose of the narrative is to support the recommendations. So it might drive some changes there too. But there was one substantive comment from Beth Goldsmith on the Historical Society about, at the very end of the document, the very end of this chapter, I said something about one approach to preserving and educating the public on this rich history would be to compile all the known information onto a single historical Waterville Valley map, and then coordinate with the White Mountain National Forest on signage and inclusion on trail maps. And she said, might you want to consider adding another approach would be to establish a museum where archives and other artifacts to be preserved and accessed for educational and research purposes. So that's something for you to think about when you get to the end of the chapter and onto the action plan. Is that a recommendation you want to make or not?
Okay.
I try to keep everybody focused on recommendations that you'll do, that you think there's support for, not, I like implementable plans, not idealistic ones. So it's just something to think about.
Okay. Great. All right, so do we want to start at the beginning of the chapter then, page 55? Just go through that.
Oh, I'm going back.
So Tara, I have a question for you. John here. On chapter 5, how come we didn't put on the heading Conservation Commission?
Or you mean conservation?
Conservation, I'm sorry, yes. Because when I was going through all of this, I was looking for conservation in the chapter, and I didn't, just being someone who doesn't know anything about this whole master plan, It looks like they're gonna have to be hunting for the conservation.
Well, I've never thought of it as a topic. It's a tool. There's conservation that's gonna be a tool for implementing several different types of things, from land use to natural and scenic resources. Conservation is a tool.
John, I had a similar thought, but I thought that conservation should be its own subparagraph, number 5.6 or whatever. And there we talk about conservation as a separate paragraph.
But I think what Tara is saying is that conservation isn't limited to just this chapter.
Right.
That it applies across a lot of different, across the whole master plan, really, because it's such a crucial part of what we have to deal with here. Is that correct, Tara?
If you want to break out conservation land, in a lot of master plans, I break out I make a section of this chapter be conservation land, but you don't really have any. You don't have any owned by somebody like Forest Society. None of the town land is conserved. So other than the White Mountain National Forest that we've talked about in other places, I don't know why you'd put in that chapter.
Don't we have that,
Well, the
Yeah, but they're
1.8,
very,
but
it's
that's,
very small.
the one
Yeah.
lot?
There's
It's not.
only the one lot that is truly conservation land.
right,
So we have less than 2 acres of conservation land. And I really think that the fact that we work in concert with the National Forest 10-year plan, this plan should be, should know about it, recognize it. I think that's fine. I mean, that's 95, 97% of the land in the town
yeah,
is already in a
Wow.
conservation plan.
right.
And I have that in the recommendation.
Right. And we have a natural resources inventory that talks about what we have in the 500 acres of the village. But as far, in other towns that I've been in, we've had a town forest, or we've had, actual parks or whatever that were specifically conservation land. And so I think that's a little bit different than the situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah,
Okay, but I'm still confused. If I was just somebody who was not on any commission, not on any member of anything else, and looking for the conservation, we have a conservation commission. And I'm looking through the master plan for it. I'm really having to hunt for, where is it? So you do say it's,
On page 62, we have the Conservation Commission heading.
so wait, when I go to the
62.
62.
When I go to the contents, there's nothing in there.
Well, I can put another level of headings in there if you think it'd be helpful. I can put the,
It's also in the land use part of the master plan and everything else, John, because
yeah,
you guys, as the Conservation Commission, you do a lot more than just this natural resources.
I understand, but I would like to see in the contents, something in there, I don't care into chapter 5 point whatever, conservation.
Wasn't that there?
Is that a
at the
problem?
end?
It is there on
If you
page
go to-
62.
It's in the contents, it's not.
right,
But-
so what I'm saying is I can set it to put in another level of headings if you'd like.
I would like it. Only reason why is we've worked really hard on that part of all of this, and I'm gonna be hunting in the contents. Where the heck is conservation? If I have it in the contents and it shows me what page it's on, I can go right to it rather than
Well,
hunting
that's
for it.
what I suggest, John. Make it 5, down there, make it 5.6.
Yeah.
And then it in your thing, it refers it to
Could we,
5.6.
can we do that, Tara? Would that be a problem? Anybody else?
It wouldn't fit the structure of the chapter, but adding the next level of headings into the index would, into the table of contents. And I can do that selectively. I can do it for some sections and not others.
I think we should do it. I think that conservation of our resources is very, very important to everyone here. I think having it as its own subsection makes sense.
As long as people don't feel like that's the only place where it's referenced and
Yes.
limit their scope, because natural resources to me, but I mean, I've got my geology background, that to me embraces
A lot.
the scope of what we're talking about in this chapter. And conservation is in so many other places. I don't want to see Tara also end up taking the time to highlight all the places that conservation is in,
No, no, no.
because that's not part of our budget.
So just that one paragraph.
So I would just set it to, I guess what I'd do is set it to add another level of headings to the table of contents. So it would pick up Conservation Commission on page 62, along with dark skies and everything before it. And then I can delete those from the table of contents in chapters. It looks silly.
All right.
Is that how you do it in other towns, though?
No,
I'm confused. So
it's just,
it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
No, in most other towns, I would have a section called conserved land, but you don't have any other than the national forest. And we talk about that in a few places because it's it's too big to put in just one little section. Too big an influence on the town. It's in recreation. It's gonna be in land use. And a lot of the point of the land use chapter is conservation. It's conservation of resources. So I would never title something conservation, but I usually would have a conservation land section. Like there's another town I'm working with who has thousands of acres of conserved land with trails and whatnot. So I have a section to talk about that. But you just recently made your first purchase of a small lot that's targeted for specifically conservation.
But yeah, well, I think more, when I think of conservation, I think of the whole town of Waterville, not just one little piece of land.
which is why it's
It's
everywhere.
natural resources.
Yeah.
That's what this chapter is.
Well, then in chapter 5, can we do in the contents, can we do?
Yeah, I understand.
Can you put natural resources in one word or give me something to we can put conservation in there somewhere or NRI somewhere.
Well, we can put it as a sub thing, like.
Yeah, we made it, that's what 5.6 with a specific heading of Conservation Commission accomplishes.
Yeah.
Therefore, if somebody wants to go and say, what is going on with conservation? We now have a subsection, which is also be indexed.
I'd be happy with that, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I suggest.
Well, in that case, since this is the natural, scenic, and historic resources section, why wouldn't you also then want to add one for the Historical Society? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to pull it out like that.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, like, what are you trying to get at? Like a sort of, so that you can find your committee in here? Like maybe we just put it in an index
No,
in the
take the
back?
word committee right out of there.
So then what?
Conservation is a huge part of this town.
Yeah,
But that's why
but
it's
that
not-
doesn't mean it needs to be in the title. I don't understand.
You and I understand that, but the average person to go pick up this and look at the master plan and look at the contents and go, oh, they forgot conservation.
I don't think.
They
anybody's
forgot
gonna
the
think that.
NRI.
John, I don't think anybody's gonna
No
look
one
at it.
who
I don't
reads,
think
I mean,
anybody-
no one who
anybody's
reads
gonna
this
look
is
that
gonna
way.
think we forgot that. I just don't understand why you think that if
Right.
anyone read this.
John, take the 5.6. It gives you.
I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy with
It gets you
5.6.
where you want to be.
I'm happy with 5.6. If everyone is okay, I'm okay.
Right.
Just some kind of
And
comment.
I understand your comment with the Historical Society. They're also very, very important. But go with that. And it makes the Conservation Commission, who does very important work, it gives them whatever.
But he just said that he doesn't think that's not.
No, he said he would live with that.
No, the 5.6 is fine.
As Conservation Commission, highlighting
But
where that
doesn't-
location
but you
is. We
just said
can't,
No,
That doesn't make any sense.
we can't narrowly say conservation is just here because it's not just here. That's the point.
Is there not a, at the beginning of the document, explanation of the various committees, organizations that exist in Waterville Valley?
No. I wouldn't
Is there a
usually.
place for that? That is to say that there's a select board, there's a planning board, and there's conservation commission, just what they all.
But
But it's
but
full.
what's the point?
Yeah, why? This isn't
I
a
mean,
a
we want
discussion
to,
of our town structure.
right, we give a nod to that every year in the annual report, you know, everyone
That's true, it
knows
is in the
it's-
annual report.
everyone knows it's there and
I read it,
active.
Yeah,
You read
um,
the annual report.
As the master plan, my only concern, and I hear what you're saying about not confusing people, John. But, you know, we have natural resources, scenic resources. All laid out under this
Recreational
chapter 5,
resources.
so if you're looking for like. Bullet point for natural resources, that's here. And I just would hate to see conservation limited. Or seen as a limited thing, like someone, because then someone will turn to this and, oh, conservation's on this page, and that's all, but it's not all, because it's everywhere. You see,
Yeah, I
To your
mean,
point.
the theme of conservation is in our introduction and vision and goals. So I think it's throughout the entire, it is who we are, right?
yeah, it wasn't, changing the chapter title, I don't think was meant as a slight in any way to all the work that the Conservation Commission's doing. I think if anything, it's an expansion of
understood.
the work.
Sure,
Does that make sense?
it does,
Okay.
but mine makes sense too.
But not really. I mean, if you
I'm
look
sorry,
at,
but we're doing this for, not for us, we're doing this for the town.
I know, but it's no slight on you. If you look at the entire thing, if you go to the table of contents, I mean, and you look at the names of the chapters, it's not the purpose, right? It's just a quick, easy to read, like, okay, I want to go to this chapter, community profile, recreation, natural, scenic, and historic resources, land use. It's not, here's what we want to do with land use. Here's how we think of our community. Here's, we want to conserve our resources. That's part of the content of the chapter. So these are just quick labels. And I think it does a disservice to them. We have to rename all the other chapters if we're going to start talking about, you're bringing another level that's just not there in our chapter names.
Thank you.
The
So are you-
NRI, the NRI is mentioned in the introduction to this chapter too.
I shut the video off.
Okay. So are you all settled on making it for Conservation Commission on page 62 be a 5.6? As a compromise position,
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Are you okay with that? Sean?
or it'd be 5.3 and then I'd renumber all the others.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes,
okay, agreed.
All
okay,
right, so
thank you.
moving on page 55. Does anyone have any comments as they read through this page?
I do.
Okay,
So how far down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on line 6. Towards the end, a detailed natural resource inventory.
mhm.
Right after that, would there be any problem in parentheses if we put NRI?
No, in fact, you should, and you should down below, after January 2020, get rid of NRI. It's just hanging out there. It doesn't make any sense.
Right,
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
for me, no.
Nancy?
Nancy,
Well, I just had a quick question. The natural resources of Waterville Valley, New Hampshire. There's no the in the title, so this is correct in the way that it's written, right?
I think so.
Okay.
But
just
I'm
curious.
I know it's me. I hate calling us I apologize to everybody. I hate calling us a tiny community.
Well,
We
let's,
are,
wait,
but I
wait,
hate
wait,
it.
let's
That's not my
focus-
question.
Let's focus on. what
I'm
Nancy's
just
saying.
asking, there's no the in the title of the document, right?
Right.
Okay, so
I see.
so then it's correct. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
That was good. All right, so my first point is the very first sentence makes no sense and doesn't belong. It has nothing to do with anything. The White Mountain National Forest comprises the majority of land area of several New Hampshire communities, so that's like a non sequitur.
Well,
What's it do?
it goes with the next sentence,
Why?
because as opposed to those other communities, your community is surrounded by the White Mountain National Forest lands. Others, it tends to be on the edge.
It,
And then they're hitched to other private lands. Yours is the only one that's isolated by the White Mountain National Forest.
so I think.
So I could make that one sentence, like with a semicolon or a however.
But if you take it out and you just start, one of the things that makes the Waterville Valley community unique is that it is totally surrounded by the White Mountain National Forest, parentheses, WMNF lands is sufficient.
No, but Nancy, I think I agree with Tara that unlike any other town in the state, we are impacted
We're on an island.
by the geography in a way that no other community is.
So
So
maybe
then
make that
maybe-
a secondary.
Yeah, so then maybe after that,
Yeah, maybe
'Cause it-
after it or whatever, but I
Yeah.
think the idea that Tara is talking about here is one of the most critical pieces of this town.
okay, so then, but having that other thing first made no
Yeah.
sense, so then
It is
maybe
the
after that, say, unlike other communities where they're, they might have some forest land on the edge,
Mhm.
we're completely surrounded.
Yeah, or-
Wouldn't it work? Would it work for you to if it was one sentence? Like, while the White Mountain National Forest comprises the majority of land of several New Hampshire communities, comma, one of the things that makes.
No. I would start with our town, because it doesn't make sense to start with the White Mountain National Forest. I would still start with, the whole point is we're talking about Waterville, and this is our master plan. So I would still start with, one of the things that makes the Waterville Valley community unique is it's totally surrounded by the White Mountain National Forest lands. I think that's great, start. And then as the second sentence, just say that the WMNF in other towns might like be,
oh, how about a comma?
never surrounds them or something,
So
whatever
so
you want to say.
take out the second, or take out the first sentence, go with the second sentence, put a comma after lands, and then say, whereas the in other communities, White Mountain National Forest comprises the majority of lands, but does not completely surround those communities, or
Yeah.
something along
Does
those
not-
lines.
So then
does
just
not
say
create
White Mountain
much
National
house
Forest
in Iowa.
doesn't surround anybody else. Like
Right.
that's what makes us unique, is that
Right.
we're
Yeah.
surrounded
Yeah,
and no
so
one else
just get
is.
that idea.
Yeah,
Or you
Yeah,
could
that's,
say,
for, in general, for these comments, that's as far as you guys need to take the conversation, and then you can move on to the next thing. You don't need to do the wordsmithing. You
But
just-
see, but I think if we say we're unique and that we're totally surrounded, like that means that no one else is, if you say we're unique. So I still don't understand why you need
Let
to
her-
say it.
Well, let her.
but it
let
makes
her
a
come
point.
in
Yeah,
and come up with new-
All right,
Okay.
but in English, if you say you're unique, it means no one else is.
right.
And
But
that's
it-
true.
Say you're,
That's
It's-
absolutely true. You're the only town that's totally surrounded by White Mountain National Forest.
right.
Or
So
you could
I still
say
say that it makes the point.
Waterville
Okay.
Valley is an island,
So-
and they,
I like the
Right,
word.
so-
I've always
but-
liked the word.
Okay, but we can move on because
That's right.
Tara's heard
we'll
it.
beat this to death.
And yes, we don't need to beat it to death. And
Okay.
it's 8:30. Tara, do you need to
Fine.
move on?
Yeah,
to your-
it would be good. So I'll watch the tape and
All right, then
my
Okay.
next week.
yeah,
Okay, Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Tara.
She's done?
She has to leave. Yeah, that's why
Oh,
we're
crap.
trying to
Oh.
be concise.
Sorry. I missed
Okay.
that part.
It's okay. We probably said it before you got here.
Oh, no.
I have to leave at 10.
Well, we'll be,
Oh,
Let's roll
but
it.
that's why we're recording it, so she can.
Oh,
see
okay,
the-
so we can keep going.
Yeah, we're keeping it
Yeah, I'll
going.
send it to
We'll
her.
we'll continue going, but we just
Okay.
need to be careful as we're making changes that we don't go down the rabbit hole and take the time to consider why it was written that way. Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
All right, and then second to last sentence that starts, as a tiny community nestled within this vast area of land. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5,
Yeah.
6 sentences up. All right, so after it, where it says this plan is twofold, there should be the number 1 before how to be good stewards of the
Yeah.
natural
Yeah, one
Yeah,
resources.
that's
with a
it.
parenthesis, not a period.
Well.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
either way.
one.
a
It doesn't really
parenthesis,
matter.
but-
It's just
That's not
because
the purpose of the
it needs
period.
A
the,
1 and a 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
2, so it should be
as
1.
long as there's a 2 with
Yeah.
the 1. Okay, so that was my other.
Cool.
You go back to the word tiny. 'cause I-
My
Yeah.
problem,
We are a
problem,
big
Agreed.
community.
Yeah.
there-
I agree.
when we, in New Hampshire,
Oh, wait, I did
especially
have one
in
other
the
thing,
north,
actually.
what we call North Country, which theoretically we're part of. I guess we are part of.
Okay, so we
It's not
have
a
a,
theory.
Tiny is, there are other tiny towns.
okay,
There
so
is-
we have,
tinier is
so we have an
population.
issue with the adjective tiny.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so-
just don't like.
Take it out.
Well, I just think that we are a community of 41,000 acres. It
That's
just
not-
happens that 40,000 plus of them are White Mountain National Forest.
Okay,
Oh, you have a
You know,
good point. What, are we
Yeah,
talking about
so-
number of people? Or are we talking about land
Well,
area?
even
That was
as a
my issue
number
with the
of
word tiny.
people, we have moved up and we're not the smallest community in the state anymore.
so as a
We
small,
used to be, but now we're not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't
so
like the
we're
word
a-
tiny.
so we're a small village within a
A small
large,
village within
with- within a
community,
large-
yeah, or however we word it.
okay,
But that idea of being tiny.
I didn't
it
like
needs
that.
to-
yeah. So it's the point that the developed place, the village that we keep calling it
Is
in this
limited.
is exactly
Yes, we're
small,
limited by
limited.
that White Mountain
Yeah.
National Forest that surrounds us.
Yep,
But we still provide services and everything else like a big town. So,
right. Town hall's open every day.
Well, that's a big
I
thing.
know it is, I
isn't.
know. A lot of small towns, it's not, yeah.
And we have a water and sewer department that no one else has.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Blah, 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 on and on, right?
Okay.
So,
Makes sense.
So,
I interpret the word village with being small too.
well, village,
but that's what we're-
we've called that area, historically, we've called it the village area of the town.
And that's what we're
And I
doing in
think
this.
that gets across the idea that we're a larger town with a small developed area.
Exactly.
So that, I think, is,
That's our turn for the master
Yeah.
plan.
so she can work out some wording.
so what are we gonna say instead of tiny?
We're
Huge.
gonna let-
We had the discussion. Tara's gonna hear it and she's going to wordsmith it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
she'll
sure.
put something.
Right, that was- we just don't like the concept.
Right,
Understood.
we're clarifying it.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
I did.
Mark's obviously taking this pretty personally.
No, I brought it up.
think
I'm
that
teasing, I'm teasing, guys.
Mike said,
Who cares, you know?
"Wanna lose that thought."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, this is.
All right, John might disagree with me on this one, but after the January 2020, when we're getting rid of the NRI, so January where we're talking about the natural resources of Waterville Valley, New Hampshire, developed by EMC in January 2020, provides I would get rid of great
Get rid of the word
resource
great.
and, no, I'd get rid of great resource and, because you're saying provides a more in-depth discussion of many of the topics discussed here.
You don't
That
need
means,
great
that's the
resource.
same thing as saying
A great resource,
provides a resource.
but you don't need both.
except
Well, it
it's a
provides
way,
data.
yeah,
It does, it has lists in it, Nancy, that I think are complementary to this chapter. So maybe the great resource isn't the best way to say it.
So
Maybe
it
it's
it
more
has
of
data and
critical data.
analysis?
That's right.
critical, it does have data and analysis of that data. So I would find a way to say it maybe differently than great resource, but it is critical for people to know that they can go to the NRI, so you don't have to state it again.
Yeah,
All right,
maybe like
then-
additional or
Then
something.
I would be more specific and say, provide data and
Instead of
more,
word data.
more
can use
in-depth
information.
analysis of many of the topics discussed here.
Or information or
Yeah,
whatever.
just, I like the
Let
word
her-
information instead of data.
Let her try to.
Yeah.
But what is
wordsmith that.
information? I like data. Data actually means something. Information is useless. It's, who knows what that is?
There are numbers and there are amounts of land of certain value and all that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for someone, so your point is, or the point is, for someone who wants more information on what they're finding in this master
Totally.
plan, that's the next step, is to go
That's
to
the
the
implication,
NRI.
yes.
So
Yes.
however it should be
I
said,
comment
whether
on
it's
doing
data or information or,
Yeah, so people aren't expecting
It's a
to see it in
resource.
here. but
exactly.
the data does exist and they can go to the NRI.
All right.
I mean, resource, a good word, maybe not. Maybe we don't need the adjective of great, but resource data.
But that doesn't say anything. So I mean, I like that it says it provides data and more, and, you know, a more in-depth discussion.
Yeah.
Or more in-depth analysis.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Okay.
Good. Anything else?
Managed to do the first paragraph.
I know, right?
Well,
All right, anything?
But you know what? I have almost nothing near the end.
Good, okay. So are we done with
We'll see
55?
about that.
Yeah.
All right,
so,
so page 56.
Love the map.
But I don't understand what the different colorations are supposed to mean.
You know, the map is impossible to read in black and white. It needs a title at the top. I
Yeah.
think the title might be the thing at the bottom.
it's the stratified drift aquifer is the
Yeah.
title of the
Yeah.
map.
I think we
And-
should be consistent and put the title at the top of
Yeah,
everything.
however yep, that's a good formatting point. I think what that means, I'm not 100% sure, but I think what that means is the potential for water sources to be found in those. And that's important from the water resources standpoint. I think for the general public looking at this, that maybe a topographical map with the streams on it to show how everything flows to the Mad River. And collects in the Mad River and then goes out of town.
That would make more
Because
sense.
Don't forget, and I'm not sure what she's trying to get.
Well, I think what she's trying to get here is how easy it is for us to contaminate our water resource.
But it's actually,
But the map doesn't say that.
it's actually not very easy for us to contaminate it because well,
When I read it as
Theoretically,
a point of the
it is.
chapter, of the
Yeah,
chapter.
that's what it
well,
seems to say.
yeah, but the way that we have built out, it's not. I mean, we're not going to put industrial facilities that could pollute on the hillsides.
Right,
We're not gonna do that.
but I think the idea of us being in a geographical bowl that, all the, whatever people use on their lawns, or if folks aren't careful in development and there's too much sheeting of
Yeah.
stuff
okay, I
that's,
see.
I got that as a point of the paragraph.
That's the way I read it too.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But is that better from a topography standpoint or the aquifer standpoint?
I would say.
Because when
aquifer.
when to the layperson picking this up and reading it.
So you're
what's
saying,
gonna-
you were saying, so show above that, show things flowing into the
No, you
Mad
showed
River?
this same map.
Oh, the same. river.
Instead of having drift aquifer as the basis of the map, have topography with the same brook features named and everything else. Just show the contour lines. Show people.
Oh,
Yes.
as almost a hiking or thing, whatever, it shows every 100
Yeah,
feet,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, a regular topographical map,
Mhm.
which are gonna show you the mountains and
Is there a
how
top,
the bowl is.
is there one, is there a topographical map available that does both?
Oh, yeah.
It is,
Yeah,
it's
we
available.
That might
we
be
could
much
make
to look
this
at.
map
I
a
know.
topographical map.
That'd be nice.
rather than.
I mean, it
drift
kind of shows
aquifer.
in color, you can kind of see it. but-
Because are you gonna have an explanation of what a drift aquifer is?
No.
So that they know what they're looking at?
Well, it does describe it in the,
Sort of,
here.
that's right.
Although one of my comments here is that there needs to be a box like near whenever any of these terms come up, like drift aquifer, where it just sort of defines it.
Define.
Even though it's defined in the text,
Right, I agree,
because
yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of terms that come up that are just like unfamiliar to regular people who don't do
Right.
conservation on
Understood.
a regular
But
basis.
there's no legend associated with this map.
Yeah, that's
If
the
you
other
look at the
thing.
map, you don't, there's no explanation of what that mustard colored, what these lines
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah, it needs a
It's
key.
where the water should be, but it should say.
Yeah,
Right.
a key is
And
missing
there
and
these,
labels are
these
missing.
two
Yeah.
almost parallel lines across the top of the map. What are they for? Why are they there?
Well, it's probably just taken off of.
From another
It's a
map.
power
map.
line.
Yeah, I mean, that's
That
that's
has something to do with water?
that's less, I think, like troubling to me than, like, I was just reading the text and you see like the Mad River Valley. Well, where's that? I mean, I
Right,
could
and that's
guess
what
that
the
it's somewhere
topography
around where the
shows.
Mad River is, but it should be labeled if you're gonna talk about it. And it also says developed area of town, but it should be then circled or pointed to, because you don't know, where is the developed area of town on this map?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
but,
isn't that the map that's on here?
but how do you know where it is on here? It doesn't say.
No, this map is
No,
supposed to be
this
about
is-
aquifer.
This map is. an
Oh, I see.
It should be,
Yeah, yeah,
in other words,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we know that like some of these squiggly lines here are the developed area of town, but there should be like an arrow saying developed area of town. This is what this is, because like we know, because we're so into this, but I
Yeah.
bet you know, a lot of people would look at this and go, what?
All right, so bottom line is the map should have the topography on it. And
Yeah, it should be
maybe
a
focus
legend.
focus more on surface area, surface waters
Yes,
than the aquifer. Just to, or perhaps the aquifer could be like in a shaded background if there's a way to combine it all. And then also have a legend directly below the map that explains it for people just skimming through.
Mhm.
Does that sound everything? I'm just trying to
Or like a
encapsulate.
Or-
definition box.
or you
of
could have
what
two
And
maps.
a definition.
aquifer is.
Because that might be
Yes.
too much. You know, we could have a map with topography showing the surface water, and then a second map with the aquifer showing the underground water, because this is a groundwater.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think
Yeah,
maybe having
Maybe two maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be better.
That
And
might make
also,
it
At this
easier
point,
to
we're not counting
visualize the
pages.
bowl
right.
that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
perhaps in the
The
topography,
bowl's difficult to see here
It
if
is.
you don't know that where the mountains are.
Well, especially in black and white.
Yeah.
If you have it in color, it
yeah.
tends to stand out more, but
So if we do two maps and on the topography one, also show where the village, the developed area is. Okay, then that's,
I just want to throw in there, if you go to USGS, you can have a customized map with all of the iterations, whether you want, topography, drain, everything. So, yeah, it's USGS. I bought a map of New Hampshire from them, and you can totally customize it, and you can see it exactly how, the satellites see it. So
Great.
just FYI, Mark, you probably know about that.
I imagine Tara does too, but thank you, Rob. All right, anything for the
Okay.
Um,
content of the paragraph?
I had a question at the very end for content, which is, the last sentence is, Waterville Valley also has a covered salt storage facility. However, a mix of salt and sand is used, blah, blah, blah.
it seems out of place.
Well,
It does.
it's not
It's important.
out of place. It seems important, but it doesn't say like, is this bad or good? Is that a problem? Should we do something about it? Or is that like good? And like we're all set? Like, I guess I didn't understand like what point the writer was trying to make.
Okay, so that sentence needs to be quantified.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really say how does salt affect groundwater and should we be worried or not?
Okay,
So, and to educate us, so it didn't educate me.
okay,
I know you guys probably know, so I'd love to know.
okay. Okay.
And just, it's a nitpick, but when it says if/when,
Where are you?
Where,
I see.
well, it's at the bottom of
Just before
56.
that sentence.
Oh,
It says town sewer service available
Oh, yeah.
and is mandated to connect to town sewer. And if you mean if and when, or one or the other, but the slash, I don't think belongs in this document.
If and when.
Yes.
So
If or when.
I'd use. the
Because
connector.
Well-
says that it is going to happen.
if
It
you're
will happen.
sure
Well,
it's gonna
that's
happen, then
every
just say
Every
when.
system fails, that's true.
Every septic. system
Theoretically,
right.
Eventually
So,
fails.
I would
think
just take
if
out the-
and when. I,
Then just say when.
Just
Yes.
say when.
I agree.
Okay.
When,
all right,
If
I
But
just-
if
I have no
they're
problem
sure to
with that.
say, yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
don't know
Well,
anything about septic.
Yes.
we're gonna adhere to good English in this document.
okay,
When.
good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, a couple little typos at the very top. Residents, businesses should be plural, and I thought it might be helpful to say geographical bowl instead of just bowl.
Can I ask a question? Mark,
Where is it?
is there
Oh,
any
midway
house
Down.
within our 500 acres that theoretically does not have a sewer hookup available?
Yes,
There are.
yes.
I thought they
All
all,
of
Because of
Snow's
ledge.
Mountain.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
I
lived
thought
there.
it was
All of
available.
that, no, it is not available.
It is
No.
not
That's the
available.
only area in town.
Okay.
that's not
And so
available.
it's not available
That's correct.
to
Yep.
you.
Right.
Thank, we
and
don't want
then-
to give you that.
All
It's
right,
until I buy an excavator and I do the digging.
okay, everyone, we
myself.
have a short chapter to do. Let's get it done before 10 o'clock, okay? We're 8:45 and we're 2 pages in. Top of page 57 is Boulder Path, right? Not Boulder Way.
Boulder Path.
That's
Road.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Boulder
Boulder
Path,
Path
yeah.
Road.
Mhm.
So instead of
good catch.
instead of Boulder Way, Boulder Path Road. Okay, anything else on page 57? Yes, did you happen to have something?
I do. So, at the very first paragraph, the first NHDES is the first time in use, so I would write out the name before using it in the
Yes.
sentence.
Okay,
I agree, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, the second sentence of the next paragraph, any that does not percolate into the ground, travels to the river, just river shouldn't be capitalized. And then,
How do we know which river it is?
I
because you
think that's
just
the
talked
reference.
about the Mad River. In the last sentence, it ended
Oh.
with the Mad River.
In Mad River, yeah, it's in that first sentence of that paragraph.
The last sentence ended with Mad River.
That's right.
Does that help? Okay,
I
and
think
then,
that's why it was
Okay.
capitalized.
yeah,
but it doesn't make sense. You shouldn't, because you're saying the river, not Mad River. Okay, and then the very last sentence, the goals of stormwater management should be changed to R.
I was wondering if perhaps, to go back up towards the top of that paragraph, if we need a second paragraph starting at inadequate stormwater management.
Mean opposite the little picture?
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought so too, that we're after that period. It should be a new
Oh, I see.
paragraph.
new paragraph. It
I
just
mean,
seemed
but
like,
I
a-
tend to stay away. I'm not
yeah, I just was
I
thinking,
rely on
it's-
other people to be English
yeah,
aficionados.
it was just something that stuck out with me.
Okay,
So-
good idea.
Either way. Okay, anything else for 57? Oh, this is the.
Do we
page
care about
people.
who these scientists are?
What do you mean? What science?
Well, in that sentence, what I guess. Where it says independent storm management has increasingly identified by scientists. Well. Scientist is a funny word. different scientists identify all kinds of other things. Should we identify
By
who these
this,
people are?
by accepted
Accepted
scientific,
experts or something?
accepted
Is it, you know,
scientific.
There's a lot of regulatory people involved that aren't necessarily scientists that have a lot to say about this stuff. So I like the words like subject matter experts.
Yeah,
or-
I like the word.
or
I don't like the word.
however you
experts.
term it. I just think that scientists unfortunately
Is the wrong
has
word.
been
It's been
Maligned.
denigrated and
maligned and
diminished.
denigrated in the last couple of years.
Sure has.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I just didn't
And,
like the word.
and there's more than just a science community involved here.
Okay,
So just say by experts.
Yeah, experts would be good.
I like that word.
okay. Good. Anything else?
Flip.
Good pace, people, very nice. All right, 58.
That.
I
That's a,
know, I like it.
Keep going.
All right, page 58.
Anybody?
Just a typical take out Corcoran, the S for Corcoran's.
All right, I have a few.
I have a question. In the first sentence, these goals are best accomplished, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't say we're actually doing it, does it?
What?
It says these are best accomplished at the development level. But does it actually say that we force people to actually do that?
I think that's the implication.
I know, I understand the implication. I just don't know
Yeah,
if,
Mike's saying that we're not doing, they're
it
best accomplished, but it's. fuzzy.
says it's best accomplished. It doesn't say we're forcing them to do that. You know, am I being too big? I apologize.
well,
I apologize. I don't
Just
like to be
as we
normally
write our
picky.
regulations.
But the rest of that paragraph talks about how it's naturally occurring. It is best done at the development level, but the way that I read it is that because we have limitations, steep slopes, and a small amount of land available for development.
Yeah,
That those things are taking care of the issues that we could potentially have.
Yeah,
I think is what, the way I read
That's
that.
the way
I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. I just don't think it. If I didn't know anything,
But if,
I don't know
if the
anything.
next paragraph, Mike talks about our regulations.
yeah, but that means that shouldn't a paragraph stand by itself?
well, I don't know about that.
Okay. I'm just saying, you know, I don't mean to be, I'm not the wordsmither person, but that jumped out at me to in the first line. All right, you know, these goals are best accomplished at the development level, and then we just don't say we do it.
Well,
kinda
because
said-
she's saying that we don't do it. And
Well, that
she's
makes-
saying that there are reasons that we don't do it. And she's saying that it is best. It says right there, the best approach to stormwater management needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis,
Right,
which is what our regulations allow us to do.
yeah,
And I think that's the point she's trying to make, not that we should have development regulations. I think it's that we're in a special circumstance.
right.
But then read,
Because of
but
those-
as you read it and you keep, I understand what you're saying, but then at the end, we say we're not doing it. So
No, it's
however,
not.
the site plan regulations
Well, it-
are outdated and should be
Well,
amended.
Well, that's just a minor thing that we need to
Well, that's
do.
not minor, but
Well, it's a thing that the board can do within its own. It's not a big town
Well, I
thing.
just,
So
you know,
we're doing it in
I-
subdivision. It's just a note that that's what we need to. it's a
I
note
hate to have
fix.
something in there that says these are the best things that can be accomplished. All right, and we say, well, we accomplished blah, 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 and at the end we say, well, however, our site plan regulations are outdated and need to be amended. I think is a total slap in the face to us.
Yeah, but.
And
But
we want to
it's
have that
something-
in there.
Yeah, because
But
you
we need to
take
do it.
this plan,
Yes.
and then when you go back to amend your site plan regulations, you say, we're enacting
Right,
a recommendation in our master plan. We identified a weakness and we're taking care of it. So
exactly,
that the next time, hopefully you won't have to, you can delete that.
Oh,
sentence.
next. time.
Exactly.
No, no. but I'm
Yeah.
just saying
yeah,
that in 10 years from now, you can take that paragraph, you can take that sentence out
exactly.
Okay.
because you've done it.
It'll be on your epitaph, Mike.
Never, never.
You modified the subject.
You will be dead.
I'm gonna make sure.
I'm just sitting here, I hate having something in there that says, we knew we should have done something and we didn't do. it."
Well,
But
And-
that's just me.
we understand that there are a lot of things going on, and this is our chance to identify how to fix. Okay, I
I
think it's an important
recognize
thing
there's
to have
something
in
I
there,
should have done and I didn't did it.
but we will be doing it.
Yes, we are.
We'll get it done this year.
Yeah, I would say that would sound better,
What?
that we intend to do this. Not that it's outdated and, never mind.
And maybe,
That's them.
okay, would you be
Moving on.
happier, would you be happier with will be amended instead of should be amended?
Why can't we say that the planning board recognizes that these plans need to be updated and are working on it? Or something like that. I mean, I hate, I don't know,
Okay,
it's just me, my
Leave it to Tara.
background,
Leave it to
my-
Tara.
my background is,
Leave it to-
when you see something that has to be done,
Okay,
you work, you get it done, and this kind of leaves it.
moving on.
We've got
okay,
hundreds of things we need to do, though. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a list of 500 things you should do, then
I
you
give them
decide
to
on the
you.
most important things.
Okay.
No.
No,
that's- well, you still
then
can't
you're
do
right,
everything
but
you
if
should
there's
do.
500 things that you have to do, you have to
So I-
prioritize
yeah.
and work on.
So
Okay,
I'm fine saying this is something that ought to be done, but there's a million things that ought to be done. So I think that's okay to say that.
yeah, I think it's
Okay.
fine the way it is, but,
Okay. Never
Okay.
mind.
Should I
okay,
go through one? Okay, I have a few. So on that same top paragraph, third line from the bottom, case by case basis, there should be dashes in case by case. I looked it up. Okay, and then next paragraph down, I think it's the third sentence that starts in addition. Earlier drainage systems were not sized considering habitat connectivity.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be with. That doesn't make sense.
right, either
Yes.
considering or to accommodate.
That's also
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then after you say habitat connectivity or the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, period. You don't need the rest of that. That we have been seeing in recent years is redundant. Okay,
Wait, sorry, habitat connectivity or the increasing frequency of extreme weather events.
right, if you're saying increasing frequency, that's saying that it's becoming more and more frequent.
Gotcha.
You don't need to say that we have been seeing in recent years.
Okay,
It's your, I already said it. And then at the bottom of that paragraph, you say, in some locations, eliminating perched culverts, blah, blah, blah. I think you need a little box calling out the definition of perched culvert.
yeah,
Because we don't know what it means.
yeah,
Yeah, I can send, I looked up a nice definition. I can send it to Tara if you guys want.
I'm sure she has one handy
Okay.
too, but
Okay.
yeah,
But just, yeah, let's just pull that out and define it.
And I also think that going back to this study, one of the most important points in the study was that the size of the culverts going down the hill are inadequate. And then if anything, that, we get onto this subject, we should say that culverts toward the bottom of the flow need to be enlarged. In that the size of the culverts, according to the study, at the top of the hill, some of them were, relatively small, but as you go down the hill, the culverts are supposed to enlarge, they're supposed to get bigger to carry the larger flow. That's out of reading the document, I thought that was one of the most important points that was made, and it's not
Right.
here.
well, isn't that EMC recommends as,
Yeah.
as addressing each culvert to ensure adequacy? Doesn't, I guess it there.
Okay, fine. So I don't want to enlarge this document unnecessarily.
Unlike the culvert.
But
But
that is,
that was
that's,
the big point of the whole study.
yeah, and it's almost the
Uh,
definite.
I just want to jump in. I think Bill has a very good point that we should put in references to the pedestrian study where it makes sense. Because it was clearly stated exactly as you said, Bill, and I agree with you. And we have that same problem on the, on the west side of town.
Okay, so perhaps a note, or in addition to that sentence, assessing each culvert to ensure appropriate size
And make reference to the study,
and make reference to study. Okay,
the EMC study.
Doesn't. Never mind.
Taurus,
And then to
Carter.
Mike's point that, are we going to enforce it?
Well, I mean,
We should.
the issue that I have with the culverts and John and I have talked about this is that size is one thing. Some of our culverts
They're blocked.
blocked or partially blocked.
Yeah.
They need, Mark and I have talked about this, they need proper maintenance and I guess there's a question of, John, you know more about this than I do. I guess there's a question as to who is responsible for proper maintenance and cleaning of
But isn't,
culverts.
I think,
That's the issue.
but I think ensure adequacy kind of sums up all of this discussion. Those nice two words. So you want to say ensure adequacy and are
Maintenance.
maintained?
Yeah, I would say
to-
adequacy and maintenance.
Okay,
Mhm.
and maintenance.
And I think that gets to my issue.
Okay,
And that's true. So a lot of unfortunately, a lot of those culverts go right through private property.
right,
So who's responsible? Jim or the landowner?
You are.
okay, but we're getting kind of
But
off
that's
track,
not
Right.
part
but
of this, unless you want to
Right.
write a new.
Maintenance,
Right.
maintenance gets us there. The question that you and I have regarding that, and we both have talked about it, is something that has to be addressed and whoever we
Okay,
feel like
so
getting
let's-
involved with.
We'll
So
talk
let's
sit down with
add-
Mark and
All right,
sit
so
down
We'll
with
talk
let's
about
everybody
add-
and
add a
figure it out.
sentence at the end. Okay, let's.
or
let's-
just add maintenance.
Yeah, just
Add-
add, ma-
add-
add,
add
add
a
maintenance
sentence,
and
say
get,
one of-
makes me happy.
One of the complications is that some of these culverts are on private land.
That's correct.
So then why don't we write that down?
Yeah, it's right to the point. for
Because
sure.
that's something to consider.
Well, maybe we think about like changing the language, like maintenance also means private owned lands. That HOAs have a responsibility to maintain their, we're going through a thing up here at Noon Peak where, where the town ends up and where, the HOA owns things, that comes into play. So I think we should have some language in there that talks about, maintenance / private or public.
We
Okay.
just said that.
But I think I think
Okay.
maintenance gets,
Okay,
the word, I
Yeah,
think the
that's-
one word
I
maintenance.
think we've covered it.
we've
Gets us
covered it.
there.
Yeah, let's continue on.
We just did.
Okay,
All right, and by the way, the definition of perched culvert is that they become perched because they're inadequate in size.
yeah,
They're washed out.
And they wash out the
Yep.
stuff underneath them.
Geez,
So-
I thought it had to do
exactly.
with fish.
so-
On that, moving along, on that same paragraph, on line 2,
Yeah.
where it says stormwater collected to carry water courses by ditches, can we use a different word than ditch?
Where are you?
yeah, where are
Which,
you?
The very first. sentence of that
Paragraph 2, the second paragraph, line 2,
I see it. Yeah.
Oh,
about in the middle,
Oh, I see.
towards the right.
There is a word.
The
I
root,
know there's a word in the,
it says by ditches and pipes.
there's a word in
Everyone see
the
that?
Yeah, yeah.
engineering
What do you want to change
lexicon.
it to?
Can we get rid of the word ditch? It
well, but
just
that's
sounds.
what they are.
That's what they-
Yeah,
That's what
do
they
you
are.
want to call it?
The
it just
culvert is a
sounds
ditch.
So,
What?
It's
a ditch?
That's what
That's
they
what
are.
it's called. We're not saying someone's laying in the ditch. We're saying that, this
Yeah, we
is-
don't find dead bodies.
It's a
in them.
drainage ditch, that's what it
Ditch.
is.
That's what a culvert is.
No.
It's-
Culvert is a metal or
Dig
plastic
a ditch.
pipe.
Or in our case.
Think
culvert's a
Ditch
container.
diggers would be offended.
Can we put something else? Can we put,
Run a big company.
can we put drainage ditch in there?
Okay,
I don't think I have a problem with that.
Well,
But
carry
that's
two
just me.
water courses by drain.
Does it sound, does a ditch sound okay to everyone?
Yeah,
I mean, when I was
That's what it actually says.
in the military, we did ditches, not in the
And
Waterloo
it's for
Valley.
drainage.
it's for the same purpose.
That's the purpose. of it,
Okay,
unless
so-
it's
so
just got a
perhaps-
tank.
Yeah, right.
So perhaps we'll look at adding drainage in front of ditch,
Could that be all right?
Yeah.
Will that help?
but,
It helps me.
okay, fine.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Anything else on page 58?
God. You got Corcoran's. Yeah, let's see, 1, 2, third paragraph down. Near the bottom where it says OSI 2019 Municipal Land Use Regulations Survey. Are we supposed to know what OSI is? I don't know.
no,
what OSI
we
is.
don't know.
I don't know.
Spell it out.
Yeah, if you could write it out, just as long as it's in, because it's in the paragraph and not like
Yeah.
a source underneath something.
It sounds official, but I have no idea what it
Yeah, I
means.
was just wondering what it was.
Okay.
You know, at the very, that starts, at first I was like, oh, we should define riparian buffers, but then like the text inside does, because it is shoreline vegetation and the layer of organic material that builds. up
But I agree with
underneath
you,
it.
Nancy.
But it's not obvious.
That's right. It's a word
I
that's
had to
not
read it a
familiar.
couple times before
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that is
Right.
what the definition,
Had
but
to
it
look it
doesn't
up.
even say,
But
this
Nancy,
is the
look-
definition of riparian
look at the
buffers.
next page though, because it shows you a picture of.
Yeah,
the
it
riparian
becomes
buffer.
obvious. Yeah.
No, it doesn't
But-
really say, this is what the definition is. I think we should be obvious.
Okay, so do we need to add a definition
I
box?
think we should.
It's easy to put a definition in.
I think we
Add
should,
Definition box. Okay,
yeah. Somebody's
Okay.
gonna come and look at that and go, well,
okay, so moving on to page 59, is there anything else?
Sorry. Yeah, we're
Good.
moving right along here.
That's good, yeah, that's what we're meant to do.
This is very impressive.
So
yeah, I mean, overall, I think this
It's a
is really
breakfast
well
meeting,
written and clear and important.
Okay, so 59, again, the Corcoran
Yeah.
correction,
I got one.
yeah.
Okay, second paragraph, first sentence where it says, following a thorough review of available research and consultation with natural resource professionals and state and federal regulators in the 1990s, I would add, comma, because you're talking about a time frame. It's implied because you, in the parentheses, say it was done in 97. But if you don't say in the 90s, it doesn't, the later sentences don't make sense when you say studies hence, because anyways, it makes it read better. So I would add in the 90s, 1990s, comma. Oh yeah, and in the last sentence of the paragraph above it, where the act should not be capitalized.
Isn't that its title?
Shoreline
No.
Protection Act.
No, however, the act provides only
Oh, the
minimal.
act, yes,
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
act by itself.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shoreline Protection Act is the name, and that should be. And then the title
You could just
below,
change it instead of X, say it.
whatever, the title below should say recommended riparian buffer widths,
Yes.
because that's really what it is. It's not what they are, it's what we
Right.
recommend, right? Or what they recommend.
Okay,
Yeah, and by the way, it says sediment control 150 feet. And in our text, we say our number one thing is to control sediment, and it's okay to have 25 feet in our town.
Well, it's a balancing.
I know, I
This
know.
is the ideal, and we
Yeah,
don't have enough land to do this.
yeah,
Because then we
know.
would have no buildings.
yeah, I know,
Virtually
it's
no
tough.
buildings.
Yeah, I read that, and I was like, oh.
yeah,
Just makes us look funny.
Well, you do things.
What are you gonna do?
Well, no, you do things like make a development put in stormwater detention facilities,
right,
which have the same effect as these steps.
Yeah, I mean,
And in the stormwater control, that's why you can do that. Because you're not able to dedicate 100 feet for that stormwater control.
Right,
It's just not
Yeah.
possible.
Yep.
So I guess, do we say anywhere that because we can't do riparian, I don't know how to pronounce it, but riparian buffers, the way they're recommended, that's why we have all these other things that we require.
That's why I thought the word considering.
Yeah,
Even
I
though,
said, right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way I took it.
I got that, I just, again, and I think it's well said, but I hate somebody saying, well, it ought to be 100 feet, but considering our situation.
Here
we
it is,
only do
yeah, okay,
that.
so last
But-
sentence.
But I think the word considering gets
Yeah.
us there,
yeah,
and I understand it, and great for us.
yeah, I think it's there.
But is it would be or is?
Where,
What,
I mean, do we have isn't that what it is now, 25, or it's not, we don't recommend it?
Is, I would say is.
Yeah,
a
isn't that
better
what we
fit.
recommend now?
Mhm.
So,
so that would be, but
So it's-
is,
yeah,
EMC.
is a better fit.
Well, we do not have any buffer right now. There's no set number in our regulation. Because the state allows you to build right up to the edge of the wetlands. The state is not limited in any way. They make recommendations, but there is no state law. I mean, we'd have to check with Tara. There's nothing because we go through this all the
Right.
time at the Conservation Commission, right, John?
Right.
That you can build up to the edge of the wetlands.
They are.
Including the streams.
They are, Up-
Right,
up on
exactly.
Golden
There's many
Heights.
places in town
I was,
where it does.
yeah, Golden Heights is a perfect
So
example.
the town has not adopted
okay,
a regulation. So EMC made a recommendation on 25 feet because of this information that you're reading. And so it would be something that you would discuss as a planning board for a potential change in the zoning law.
okay, so for now, would be is the correct
I
terminology.
think
Okay.
would be is
all right,
correct.
so
for-
I, sorry, I wasn't
Yeah.
there, thank you.
I mean, unless I'm missing something and I
Silly
forgot.
question. Considering the relatively small amount of land available
Yeah,
for any construction.
even the 25 feet is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here and saying, wow, so I'm basically saying we're gonna change the regulations is kind of like, who
Well,
cares since it
That's
can't be
why-
done?
25 feet.
Well,
is a lot
and
of feet.
that's part
That's
of
why
your
it's not-
discussion. I think.
Well, that's fine.
in stone.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No, that's
No,
fine.
no, it's okay.
That's not
We're having
something that I want to
Separate
get involved
discussions,
with
but,
today,
okay,
but it is an issue.
are we ready to move on to page 60?
Well, I have one more question.
Okay,
On the second paragraph, the bottom line, EMC.
Uh-huh.
Do you think people will know what that means?
Yeah,
You defined it earlier.
it's a
It's-
storage
Was
company.
defined earlier in the,
It's a computer storage company.
Where? Help me. And
okay,
in this paragraph, it's
no.
earlier?
No,
No, it was
Earlier in
earlier.
the,
Yeah, you define on the very first page, ecosystem management consultants.
Okay.
It is defined.
You know what, I ended up, and maybe we need to do this, writing at the bottom, every abbreviation. Maybe
That
on
would
each
be
page, we need to
great.
write each abbreviation, and what
Oh,
they
yeah.
stand
Yeah.
for.
for every
Just
page.
So that you
gets-
can look
gets
them
long.
up.
I know,
What,
but
what about for the chapter?
Or yeah, for the chapter
Every
somewhere.
page would be a lot, but,
No, well, I just did it on the page that it was, so I could flip it
Talking about
back, but you're right,
footnotes.
maybe on each,
Yeah.
on each chapter, we can have one, because that's really helpful. Because I found myself doing the exact same thing.
yeah, I
Let
would
me
just,
see, who are they?
I don't know, is that too much?
let's think about that.
yeah, we'll put a
12-page
pin, I
document.
know.
This is
It's-
not-
Can we talk about the pretty little diagram here?
Wait, hang on, so, okay, we're moving on from the EMC, or
No. Well, yeah, but I have an issue with the pretty little diagram.
where are you on page 60?
I'm
No,
on
59.
page
He hasn't gone
59
that far.
at the
I'm
bottom.
taking a note on that
It's a
one.
very pretty diagram.
Yes,
It's a very pretty diagram. However, don't we say we're not doing it?
but it's what's recommended,
It's gonna
and
be
because
recommended.
we
We're adding
can't
the
do.
We're adding the
what's-
word
I
recommended.
understand, but
But
my
it-
issue is, we're never gonna do it.
But because we can't do it, we're doing other things.
Right,
This is
so why-
recommended.
My question is, I understand all that. My question is, we have this beautiful diagram in here. All right? Which we're doing other things other than doing this. So why have this pretty little diagram in here?
Because, I think because.
It's very pretty,
This, yes, this shows.
especially in color.
This shows the ideal, but we can't do it. So that's why when a developer comes to us and says, we're gonna do all of this, A, B, and C to reduce runoff, and we're gonna say, but that's not enough because D, E, and F need to be done as well. It gives us a leg to stand on to be more strict with controlling water.
I like it because all the people who are gonna read this,
All the people.
that this is
All
our,
the people.
right, all of
Other
them,
than the
four
five
people
of
who
us.
Right,
read
this
it.
is, this is the
That's the,
standard,
this is our objective.
so.
We
Well,
wanna,
it's not.
Make
we wanna
up
go in
for
that
100
direction.
feet.
It's not our objective. It's
It
what,
should be our
it
objective.
should be our objective,
Okay.
but it's
Say we're
not.
idealizing
It's not,
it in
and
this
it's
direction.
not and won't be.
And because of that, we have to be more.
I
stringent and
understand.
effective.
I just,
Okay, I think it belongs in the master plan.
Yeah, I agree.
okay.
Done.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Shrink the size, I guess.
Okay.
It's very pretty, though. In color, it's very pretty.
So
Mike,
page 60. Page 60, yes. My only comment was that I'd like to see this image larger because I was squinting.
yes,
Yeah,
once again,
but-
you need a legend.
Yeah, my comment on this image, it's missing the title on the top, the
Yeah.
source on the bottom,
Yeah.
legend,
Yes,
to say, what is it?
Right.
that's right.
mean,
What is it?
It's described in the wording, but yes, I have a legend.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
thing should stand on its own, every.
Yeah.
My other comment is it's village area is mentioned twice. Once in the set off paragraph, and so we can't change
Yes.
that, but once up top, and especially up top in the very first sentence. What are we actually using? I think this brings me back to us as a planning board need to get a map of the town out, and we need to diagram what we're calling everything. Because I just can't remember anymore. I gotta be honest.
Well,
I've lost
village,
track.
yeah, village has been the developed
Yeah,
part, so village area,
Well,
the
we keep-
developed area.
So
Well,
all
we
of
keep
developed
calling it
area,
different
and
things.
then village.
We don't, we keep going to village.
And then
Oh.
village core. Or
The
we
town
don't say
core.
town.
Town
core,
core.
Town
Which is
core.
Town
the-
core.
town square.
Center C1 zone that's encircled by Valley Road.
Yes.
and-
Yeah,
Yeah,
We
but
still need
Nancy's
that map
question,
of, we still need a map where we have that with our names, like circled and written on, so that we all use the same, like. I still
if
feel
Nancy, a
bad.
board member, is questioning it, the average person
They're not
have
gonna know.
no idea what.
Like, that needs to be in here and we need it up. on the wall. I
Okay,
need
well,
that.
we worked on this.
but yeah,
We
village
said
has
that
been-
village was going to be the developed area. The town is
Yeah.
defined by the state, which is the 370,000 acres or whatever it is. And that.
All right, so then there's no reason to say area,
Okay,
40,000.
then
We have
we can just
Bobcat.
say in the village of Waterville Valley, right?
Yeah.
Or do we need the
Why-
village
why
area?
haven't
I don't know.
I could
I
go
can
either
see
way.
Fisher,
Okay, since-
Fisher's here.
Since Tara's going from our recording, let's
Right.
keep it one
Tara can do
discussion at a
this,
time.
yeah.
Maybe it makes sense then.
I think it's okay either way.
Okay, I guess it makes sense since they talk about it later.
I had a question on the bottom with the list of species.
Uh-huh.
I see fish, they call fisher or fisher cats. Fisher cats. I've
Yes.
seen fisher cats here more often than I've seen a bobcat.
Well, except it's saying by, I think.
I-
the
I- you know, I saw
observations by
I kind of
EMC.
saw that. I was just surprised. But
I think she's just referring to the EMC
Yeah.
documentation for substantiation, I suppose. Maybe she could add Mike Capel has also seen.
you could say my, wait a minute, hold it. I
was a
was
good one.
gonna say that. Nobody but me has seen fisher cat?
I have.
Yeah.
I actually substantive, which is at the very first paragraph at the top, where it says, these areas and those where wetland plants have revegetated drainage ditches play an important role
Right. Oh,
in
you're-
stabilizing soils and filtering and slowing stormwater.
Wait, I'm sorry. Oh,
The very first paragraph up top,
okay.
and it says, okay, so you've got your drainage ditch.
Thank
It
you.
says drainage. and now there's plants growing in it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, so, so I've been paying through my little association here to like weed whack.
Yes.
And now is this saying no, leave the weeds? What does this mean exactly? Like, that's what my question is, like, what is it, like, how much vegetation is enough and how much is too much? Is that a question? Because this is very confusing.
Yes, because it's a balancing act of differing priorities. So
Yeah.
the ideal would be to never mow anything because that's the natural state of everything and that's the perfect world. But you can't do that.
But the ditch will
because you
fill
have
up.
Public safety, you have, right, the effectiveness of the ditches is compromised. So it is a balancing act. We have to clean the ditches. The point, though, I think, is that when you go in and rebuild a ditch so that the ditch itself is stable to the way that you built it, and it doesn't get eroded, okay? You'll see a lot of towns, they'll go into road ditches and they'll just scrape them out and leave them as dirt. That can be a problem because that will cause erosion.
Yeah.
However, if you go in and scrape it out and then put seeding on it and cover it with hay or whatever, that will be a proper ditch because it will have vegetation that will stabilize the ditch and you don't have erosion. So it's that sort of back and forth, because once you seed it, you're gonna have to go back in a couple of years and you're gonna have to clean it out.
Doesn't that get back to what we put the word maintain?
Maintenance.
That's why we
But
put the
so
word
many of our
maintain.
ditches are riprap, at least the
And-
modern ones,
Well,
so
because
should
of
they have
our,
any vegetation?
well, because of the topography and the fact that our slopes are so steep, we can't establish vegetation in a lot of the ditches. So to keep them from eroding, we use riprap to slow the water down.
Essentially rock.
It's just rocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
And
rocks.
the water hits the rocks
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it slows it down.
Okay, so no vegetation and riprap is fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, there are places where we could never get anything to,
To grow.
so
Okay.
I like Mike's idea of we just have to have a maintenance plan and keep
That's why,
taking care of it.
that's why we're maintenance in that where we put it in, and
Yeah.
John and I have talked about this a
yes,
lot.
this doesn't really
It
cover
is,
that.
Well, but
It
the
is.
ideal, Nancy, is that you have I mean, it's just like that recommended repair system. That room, you can do it, then you shouldn't clear cut the land, you should have this.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
Okay,
Okay. Cool. Anything else for page 60? No?
Quick.
Yeah, all right, page 61.
Oh, look at
are you
us.
kidding me?
Wow.
We're leaving a cloud of dust.
Do we have anything for page 61?
I have something super small.
Okay,
Under invasive species, 1, 2, 3, fourth line down where it says management at UNH, I would write out University of New Hampshire and put UNH in parentheses
yeah.
for the first time it's mentioned.
Yeah.
That's it.
I have a
Okay.
silly question.
Uh-huh.
Where it says, taking bird feeders in before April 15th.
Uh-huh.
One of the things I know Sandy does, we do it. It's an awful lot of, for example, hummingbird feeders that are put out in the summer. And is that contrary to what that says at the top?
If they aren't sufficiently high, so bears, or in a place where bears can't access them, then yes.
Bears can access
Yeah.
as
Whatever
tall
they
as I
want.
am.
Yeah, But
And everybody, yeah, all the ones that I see are 3 feet, maybe. I'm, okay, whatever, I apologize, but it is contrary to what it says, is because we say to take the bird feeders in by April 15th. The hummingbird feeders are put out May.
For the summer.
Well, when I read this sentence, I thought that it was actually inverted. You don't put them out before April 15th and you make sure that they take them in.
no, because otherwise you're feeding the bears and breaking a lot of bird feeders.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I think
have
again,
But it's perfectly reasonable. though.
I think once again, it's an ideal. Like I have a
Okay.
hummingbird feeder, but it's off the second floor of my unit, not off the porch where bears can
Yes.
get it, you know,
Well, our neighborhood bear climbs the porch. He goes right up the pole.
right?
Yeah, I mean, bears can climb.
So that,
That's
this
the whole
again,
point of
the
that
idea,
sentence.
exactly,
Yes.
We've acclimatized the bear to humans.
exactly.
By doing that.
Yep,
So
Yeah, that-
okay,
Okay, I'm
it's a
just,
balancing act.
I understand,
I like hummingbirds.
they're pretty to watch and everything, I
Right.
just,
but
whatever.
Take your.
I just, I know lots of people here put them out after April 15th, not take them in, but whatever, I
Okay.
apologize.
I agree.
okay, so anything else for 61?
No,
All right,
Wow.
Invasive
62.
species.
So page 62. Oh, look, Conservation Commission.
uh-huh,
Ta-da.
finally, I dug quite a ways to find it.
5.3 Conservation Commission.
All right, anything on this page, 62?
I got something.
What you got?
Last sentence. The
Where are we?
commission,
Where are we?
Page 62, last
Yes.
sentence?
well, actually, all this, I probably shouldn't capitalize the commission because it just shouldn't be capitalized. The whole name can be capitalized, but when you say the commission, it shouldn't be. Also, the very last sentence, take out the letter A, so it should read, the commission also manages the 1 acre,
Oh, yeah,
8 acre piece of land.
or take out the,
A,
Take out the A, yeah.
no, take out the,
also manages a
yeah,
1.8 acre, also manages the 1 point, I think A
One or
was
the
better.
other. Just
Yeah.
use one.
Yeah, it doesn't
use
matter.
one or the other, I don't care which.
Whatever Tara wants.
Okay,
Anyways, the rest of it seemed good.
okay, anybody else?
Stormwater runoff resulting sediment and surface waters. Do we have to talk, do they also do the main?
Where are you?
I guess
where
this
are you?
comes back to who's responsible for observing and maintaining the culverts slash water ditches slash,
Where are you reading?
this includes working with property owners to educate them on the land they own as well as the land around them.
Okay,
Current focus
But
areas.
I don't know where on page 62 you are.
The
I'm
last paragraph.
the last paragraph,
Last paragraph, how many lines down?
Three.
3.
Okay,
In other words, well, actually, 4, 5, where it talks about the current focus, stormwater runoff and the resulting sedimentation, it's also vegetation. And when you look at those ditches slash culverts, whatever you want to call them, it's not only the, as I've looked at them, when John and I have gone around and looked at them, it's not just sediment, it's also the vegetation that is clogging them as well. I think the vegetation is worse than the sediment, but that's just me.
Well, that's the fine line where we want to try and keep the land from eroding.
No, I
mowing it and stuff, so
understand.
it's a hard,
It's not my area of expertise.
well, it's.
But
she's-
when I look at it, there's issues with
Okay,
with
but she's-
vegetation as well as sediment.
Okay, but this paragraph is summing up what the Conservation Commission is doing. So is she missing something, John, that the Conservation Commission is focused on in this sentence that you'd want to add?
right?
If you're happy with it, I'm happy with
I'm
it.
fine with it.
That's fine.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So page 63. Scenic
Oh, I didn't look at
resources.
63.
I just have one.
The extra or? No,
Oh, no, I didn't see that. Where's that?
midway down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Where are you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 lines. I just feel like there's an extra or, having parking to the side or rear or underneath. I think side, comma, rear or underneath.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. Having parking?
Having parking to the side, comma, rear
Oh.
or underneath
Got it.
Mhm.
Good catch.
instead of the or. There's minor.
All right. I have another minor one, which
Okay.
is first sentence. The tastefully designed scenic landscape. The doesn't make sense.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So on to page 64. All right. Final page.
Ta-da.
I don't know about anybody else, but third paragraph down, River Heritage Trail Scenic
Wait,
State
wait,
Scenic
wait.
Byway.
Where are you?
Third paragraph down, where it says starts with New Hampshire Route 49.
Yes.
Like, this is a big deal. I had no idea.
Yes, yeah.
I would put like fluorescent behind that paragraph, put giant circles around it,
Make
and
it its own
arrows
text
towards
box.
it, and
They're
then
on maps.
put
Yeah,
lights
wait a minute,
blinking at it.
when you drive in, because I actually yelled and got it cleared, the signs, the sign right at the beginning of 40, almost at the beginning of 49, at both ends, there's a sign that says it's part of it, and the signs are there, I had them cleared away.
The River Heritage.
If you,
Never heard.
when you drive out of the, into or out of the valley, right, the signs are kind of washed out, maybe we ought to get them some new ones.
I'll talk to them. We
But
have a meeting with
the-
the byways.
It is, there are signs there, which I had cleared away so that we can see the sign, but the signs are kind of washed out that say this is part of, just like the camp.
Yeah, but I think like more, like
No,
signs are
there's-
good.
There are 4 or 5 different byways in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And there's one that's called the River Heritage
Yeah.
Trail. And it's a series of roads that are part of that scenic byway. And they've been voted on by the legislature and established.
And is Waterville Valley considered to be on the trail or just at the end of
The
it, right
road
after it
is the
ends?
trail. The
What?
road is the
The
trail.
trail.
So because 49 goes through Waterville Valley, we're considered part of that trail?
Yes.
Yes.
That's great, I
Yeah.
mean, my kids went through the elementary school, no one ever mentioned it while they were there.
Well,
But I think it's a big deal.
It is
It is.
run as part of the North Country Council, and there is a commission, which if any of you want to participate in, they have regular meetings 3 or 4 times a year, and we would love to have someone other than myself be the town's representative to the commission, so you guys are welcome, just see me and I will get you linked up with the leader of that group and you can have at it. It's wonderful.
Well,
It is a big deal. I mean, we're on
Yeah.
maps
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
people drive these trails all over the country. It's a national program.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think this should be part of in the introduction, part of what we say is part of our town. Like,
Mhm.
why isn't it, like,
In other words,
There.
we don't promote it.
yeah, this should be in the front too, not just here.
Sure.
As
Yeah.
part of like who we are, as we're on this historic
Yeah.
trail, like, why isn't it there?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
my question is this, in the last sentence, last line, it says restrictions of off-site signage.
Yes, they
What does that
work
mean?
with the National Forest.
But why is it
in
restricted?
New Hampshire, well, in order to maintain the scenic characteristics of the road, the Byways Commission works with DOT and the National Forest to limit signage on the road. So any sign that does
Oh.
get placed on the road.
You mean like billboards?
Yeah, don't
Bill-
clutter.
No, no,
the
the
road.
billboards.
No,
The great big
even-
Waterville sign coming in,
Mhm.
they had to jump through hoops and everything else to get it cleared that could be put there,
But,
for
but
example. I don't know. if it's a good,
technically,
bad, or
it just
different.
means signs that aren't on your own property.
Yeah, that's
That's-
why that
it's
sign has
just-
to
Well,
be
no,
whatever,
no,
Clutter.
it goes beyond.
beyond that.
I think so. It's to
Because
do with the beauty of
As
the
a
highway.
highway.
Yeah.
DOT limits signage. And the National Forest limits signage. So even safety signs that DOT want to go up, they have to be approved.
Yeah.
So it is a limitation on all signage along
Okay.
the road.
I understand it. In other words, you don't want to be driving along, looking at the scenery and find your scenery inhibited by signs.
By any
Exactly.
sign,
Yes.
Yep.
right? And that's why you see like the yellow signage on corners and stuff. If you look at Route 49 compared to other state highways, there's much less of that controlling signage
Mhm.
on 49. It's one, and the other byways throughout the state have the same limitations. They, it's a balancing act between public safety and the scenic.
Okay.
And then cutting trees, there are some of the byways that are known for the canopies and driving through. So there's
Yeah.
limitations on tree trimming and things like that on some of the byways.
Okay.
Well, this byway,
Okay,
Well, and this to some extent,
yes, when it went through clearing, just for the clearing of the signs that say that it is, there were not big issues, it was resolved
Yeah.
relatively quickly. But getting those signs so that you could actually see them, because they were kind of blocked. But now those signs, even though we kind of mentioned before, are now visible.
Okay, so one suggestion would be restrictions of roadside signage. I don't know what off-site is referring to.
offsite,
That's what I just said. Offsite is a technical sign term, I guess, meaning not on your own property.
right. Do
right, yes.
you want offsite, roadside signage?
And it is the signage even outside of the right of way.
No, I know,
Yeah.
so, but just to get to Bill's point,
Just
so you want
so that the
roadside,
person who doesn't know anything about this, reading it would understand.
Roadside and offsite.
right,
Yeah, okay,
okay,
enough.
okay, anything additional, page 64? We have Tara's comment from the beginning about the Historical Society. If we agree about having a museum
Well,
added in here,
Can I ask you, well, first of all, she did mention at the very end that it should be trail maps, not trails.
Yep.
Like our historical society is already established and is already collecting artifacts. And aren't they working on
Yes,
finding, so what exactly is she suggesting? Because they're already doing it. So are we just saying we throw our support behind them? Because we're not gonna do a 10-town effort that's gonna compete with them,
right?
and nor would we want to.
Yeah, no, I think it was just a matter of whether we want to add in this sentence here, when approach to preserving and educating, blah, 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 would be to establish a museum.
Support, I would say support the establishment of a museum for
Yeah.
artifacts,
Yeah,
which is currently being handled by the Waterville Valley Historical Society. And I think we can acknowledge that.
yeah. I think that sounds good. Okay,
Wow,
anything else?
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
What you got,
It's
Nancy?
very nitpicky.
Yeah.
but Is there any way to change the words, the Abenaki to Native Americans? rather than pick
Yeah.
out a single,
That makes
Um,
sense.
that was brought up at the Conservation Commission.
Very
Okay.
good point, yeah.
Sorry, I know I
Home
saw,
to Native American peoples or.
Native
whatever they wanna
American.
do,
Yeah,
or
I-
Native Americans.
where on
There's-
the page is it?
It's
Top
right
paragraph.
under 5.4. Waterville
Okay.
Valley has a colorful history.
So
So
thank you.
home to Native Americans.
it was
for
more than,
thousands of
more
years.
than the Abenaki?
Was it-
Yes, it may not have even been the Abenaki,
Oh, okay.
was the point.
Okay,
Really? I always thought it was.
I had no
Silly
idea.
me.
Well,
'Cause I thought,
It just,
yeah,
this comes from, this is secondhand knowledge for me. I'm not an expert, but it was brought up that it's much better to just say Native Americans.
more politically
Okay.
correct.
Well, no, it
accurate.
wasn't just the
accurate.
Abenakis,
I mean,
probably.
because people moved around and you have no idea.
That's
Right,
correct.
to-
But it is correct that it's thousands of years.
Yeah.
right,
It's just not limited to just that one group.
okay.
right.
So mine was, I guess, content related at the very end,
Okay.
Mhm.
which is, so, also, like, we could also consider doing something where, we consider adding interpretive signs to all these sites. So that
Well,
it's
we
not
are
just on a map.
working in the rec chapter, you should be probably highlighting as part of the hiking program that we're doing the interactive mapping of our trail system with an app and that sort of thing. But it will tie into the Historical Society, but it's not going to be limited to that. It's going to be multifaceted. So it's going to have environmental, it's going to have hiking specific information, it's going to have historical information. But we're working on that
An
throughout
app,
the
the
valley.
rec department, this is an app,
Yes.
the rec department.
Yeah, so I think it's more appropriate for the rec chapter. But you should talk to Brooke about that, about how to work that.
But back to Nancy's
But
point.
that's not what
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
right, because it's written here that we're losing memory of these places. So I think what you're saying, Nancy, is if we have interpretive signs
Yes,
on
I'm talking about a
trails
physical presence, like you see
for the valley.
in other
the,
places,
Well,
with
but.
an actual physical sign saying, oh, you found it. Like when you're
Right.
walking around, this is the site of, this settlement.
But the way that we're doing that, because White Mountain National Forest does not want signage, physical signage.
Mhm.
We're finding other ways to do that.
But-
And so there may be just a QR code on a tree rather than a sign. And you'll be able to take a picture of the QR code and that will call up the information that you're talking about. But that's part of what we are doing on the trail system as a whole.
So you can nail a QR code to a tree, but you can't nail a sign to a tree.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to
I
balance.
understand.
That it is, well, that's what we're working with the National Forest on right now.
Right
And
now,
the Historical Society is participating.
yeah. Right now,
To-
a lot of the
to-
beginning of the trails signage has that QR
Yep.
code on it right
Right.
there, so it guides you. Then
As
you
you
could
go,
guide,
it may be GPS, Nancy, it may be GPS located. Like you can call up, I'm standing on this trail, what's around me? Well, look to the right and there's a field and that was Depot Camp. And here's what happened there. So there may not
Yeah.
even be a QR code. It may be GPS. There's a lot of capability right now with smartphones, and we're trying to take advantage of that.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying, but the White Mountain National Forest doesn't want a proliferation of signs throughout the forest.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay, so then, so we should just say map or application.
Maps or apps, maps or apps.
I agree, though, we gotta get this stuff written down before it
Yeah,
gets lost.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? No, we're set for this page, and that's the end of the chapter.
That's my other question. I'm sorry,
Uh-oh.
never mind.
Uh-oh.
Look at
Okay.
you, 9:43.
Why, what is what is the purpose of the picture?
It's pretty, it's
That's okay,
historical.
never mind.
Okay.
Not,
I'm gonna suggest that we,
It's trees and flowers diagram, Mike. It's pretty.
That's fine.
okay, I'm gonna,
Okay.
I'm
Wasn't
gonna,
that historical? that
Yeah.
Thing?
Well,
Gazebo?
That's a gazebo.
a gazebo system is very nice.
No, but isn't
I
that,
mean,
Oh, we don't say anything about it.
unless,
And then we have
I mean, do you
pictures.
think we should
No,
label
no,
it by
I-
which
I-
gazebo it is? You got
you could,
What did I drop? Money? Oh, no.
you could replace it with something that is historical.
Well, no,
Well, the gazebos are historical.
part of our.
gazebos are very nice. But, you know, we don't say anything about them, but therefore the picture is nice.
No, I guess we're gonna hold off on the checklist. Are we all in agreement with
Which
that?
checklist?
Well, because Tara had told us the
The
numbers.
action plan checklist.
Yeah,
It's not on my schedule.
Yeah.
There are 38.
she had referred to the, well, just because she'd referred to the numbers that are part of this chapter for the action plan. But I'm gonna suggest that we hold off on the action plan until Tara's here, just because it's
I
a
agree.
new approach for us.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I'll go with
But
that.
we probably should go through the ones for chapters that we haven't done also.
well,
Kind of haven't done-
everyone should be reading this in our review,
Mhm.
so we'll be able to
It's just
talk
what we're talking about.
coherently when it comes up. But I'm gonna suggest that we wait till Tara's
Is
here.
it in here
and
somewhere?
talk about it. It is, it's in a separate, it's in a
She
different
sent it.
email.
It was
in
in-
a
I,
different
it's,
email.
I
Separate
understand. I do have it somewhere.
Okay.
Just
Um,
didn't bring it
I
up.
think the number system is a great improvement. That does work throughout the document.
yes. So we'll check with Tara at next week's regular meeting as far as the next chapter to tackle.
Which is,
Next
The
Thursday.
10th.
which chapter?
No, we're gonna talk to her about it. We
Okay.
don't, we haven't. She's guiding us in what she feels like is the most common sense way to attack this. So we'll let her continue with that.
Okay,
Thursday. We have the plans from
Yes, the
Tara.
plans upstairs.
So if everyone has a chance to review, we're not necessarily doing a public hearing on Thursday,
We're
but,
not doing a public hearing.
We're
because
not.
We didn't notice. that.
okay, we are not doing a public hearing on
Right.
Thursday. We'll be going through the submission, and it would be helpful if everyone's taken a little bit of time to review ahead of time, if you get the time.
And so that you're aware, if anyone asks you, there were notices sent out, but they were notices of the application, not of the public hearing. So you're gonna review the application and make a decision or not about whether it's complete.
Right.
And you can, start talking about it then, but we will notice a public hearing for the April meeting.
Correct.
Hopefully I won't be here.
So
So
the
no
application,
public hearing.
the application copy is upstairs,
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
but it's not online.
No.
No,
Okay.
you have to come and look at it in person. Spread the big papers out.
has anyone received comment from Tyrell concerning why they want 20 feet rather than 22 feet as the width?
We are talking to them about that with staff, and that will be one of the things we talk about on Thursday.
Okay.
Yep, we are having that conversation.
Good.
So Madam Chair, this is where I was confused on chapter 4 and 5.
What, you mean our previous?
Yeah, this is, yeah, just so I can throw this away, but chapter 4 said nothing like this at all.
I understand.
And that's why I'm like, what?
Change can be hard.
It's hard.
I
I'm really hurt.
understand.
I'm hurt.
Sorry.
I've kept this that long.
Oh,
we-
you
are
can,
we-
you can
are
still
we-
hold on to it.
Thank you for guiding me. Got it.
Sorry, John.
I got through it. It
Okay,
was tough.
you did good.
Thank
Are
you.
we,
Okay.
are we looking for a motion to adjourn?
I
Yes, I think
believe-
we are.
Unless there's anything else, Mark, that we needed to, I feel like there's something else, but, okay.
I
Yes.
move we adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a
I'll second
second?
that.
All right, all in favor?
Michael Pella.
Nancy, I.
Wendy, I.
John, I.
Bill, I.
Bill?
Bill,
Bill,
aye.
aye.
Alrighty, thank you, everybody, for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Madam
Wendy.
Chair.